Les damos la bienvenida a este evento que organiza el Observatorio de Comercio Internacional del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales, nuestro gran evento en el año, que es este sexto Congreso Nacional de Comercio Internacional, junto del tercer Encuentro Nacional de Enclaves Productivos y Servicios Logísticos. En este momento estamos aquí en el segundo piso del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales, en la sede central de la Universidad Nacional de Luján, en Luján, provincia de Buenos Aires, pero conectados con colegas del exterior que van a enaltecer lo que es esta primera mesa en unos instantes en lo que es este inicio de esta gran actividad. Y para ello nos está acompañando el director decano del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales, el licenciado Miguel Ángel Núñez, a quien le voy a pasar la palabra para que les dé la bienvenida a todos los que nos están siguiendo tanto por YouTube como aquí en esta plataforma de comunicación. Miguel, bienvenido, muchas gracias.
Hola Gustavo, buenos días. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Me sumo a la bienvenida al sexto Congreso Nacional de Comercio Internacional y tercer Encuentro Nacional de Enclaves Productivos y Servicios Logísticos, todo organizado por el Observatorio de Comercio Internacional del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales de la Universidad Nacional de Luján. La verdad que es una alegría después de la creación del observatorio, todas las actividades que se han realizado en estos años eh, y, y hoy está el sexto Congreso Nacional de Comercio Internacional. Todo un logro de haber también no solamente creado el observatorio, sino también que lo han mantenido durante el tiempo con muchas actividades y muchas producciones. La verdad que celebro esta oportunidad que en el Congreso se pueda unir la comunidad académica con empresarios, funcionarios, diplomáticos y expertos en la temática del comercio internacional y poder batir los problemas y temas de interés del sector. Eso nos da muchas expectativas de las conclusiones y de las producciones que se puedan realizar. También este encuentro de enclaves productivos y servicios logísticos para abordar los problemas de logística y el comercio internacional siempre desde la perspectiva local. Así que para no desplazarme más, quiero felicitarlo a todo el grupo y equipo del OSI, nuestro observatorio, y por llevar adelante esta actividad. Y agradecer a los expositores que hoy nos acompañan y a los participantes y desearles dos jornadas muy productivas e interesantes de trabajo en equipo.
Miguel, muchísimas gracias por estar, no solamente en esta apertura, sino que en estos 6 años siempre nos has ido acompañando con diferentes gestos y demás, y para nosotros es muy importante contar con el apoyo del departamento y en vos como máxima autoridad con los avales y demás. Así que muchísimas gracias a vos también y a tu gestión por acompañar, ¿sí? Vamos
Un
a
abrazo grande.
rápidamente comentar cómo viene este cronograma de actividades. Como bien decía el decano, son 2 días. Hoy jueves estamos iniciando aquí en la sede central de la Universidad Nacional de Luján, ruta 5, ruta 7. Así que a partir de las 5:30 de la tarde esperamos a todo el público para que nos acompañe en el Salón Auditorio Daudo Gorronzolo. Y aquellos que quieran, en el transcurso de la mañana y parte de la tarde, nos pueden acompañar aquí en este segundo piso del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales. Ya mañana directamente nos vamos a estar trasladando al Centro Regional Campana, que es la sede natural y por excelencia que tiene el observatorio, y desde temprano vamos a estar allí conversando sobre logística, combustible y ferrocarriles. Al mediodía vamos a estar visitando con una delegación lo que es la terminal portuaria Euroamérica, que es una de las terminales más importantes en el país, y ya por la tarde volveremos al centro regional para retomar las actividades. Como decíamos al inicio, con colegas tanto aquí de la Argentina como del exterior que realmente enaltecen esta actividad. Y para ello, obviamente, le voy a dar la bienvenida a los colegas que nos están acompañando al exterior. Así que vamos al inicio a esta mesa 1, cuyo título es Comercio y Logística Internacional, dando la bienvenida y agradeciendo a los colegas de las universidades extranjeras que se suman a este evento. Y para moderar la mesa, le voy a ceder la palabra a Sebastián. So we are going to say it in English. We're going to begin round 1 titled International Trade and Logistics. And we say welcome and thanks to our colleagues from faraway universities who are joining this event And to moderate this panel, I will now hand over to Sebastián Sterzer.
Okay, thank you so much, Gustavo. Hello, everyone, the audience, also to the authorities, as well as the speakers of this round number 1. This is the beginning of our 6th National Congress of International Trade, and also our 3rd National Meeting of Cluster and Logistics Services. The title of the round number 1 is International Trade and Logistics. So to accompany us in this beginning of the round, we have 3 speakers from Indonesia. I am going to introduce the 3 of them. We have Miss Lianna Wijaya from Binus University. Buenos días. Good morning. Good morning in Argentina and Latin America. Good evening in Indonesia. We have also Miss Yudhita Valen Prasarry, also from the same university. Hello, Yudhita, from Binus University. And also we have Mr. Riza Noer Arfani from Universitas Gajah Mada in the city of Yogyakarta, also from Indonesia. Hello, Mr. Riza.
Hello, Sebastian. Hello, everyone. Buenos días. Selamat pagi, selamat malam.
Selamat pagi, buenos días en idioma indonesio. Selamat malam, buenas noches en el idioma. We are going to start the round 1 in order to fulfill with the schedule of the activity. So first of all, I want to introduce to Miss Lianna Wijaya. We will start first with her. So please, to the audience, let me introduce to her. Lianna Wijaya is a faculty member in the Department of Bina Nusantara Online Learning. This is in Bina Nusantara University. It's a private university in Indonesia. Lianna Wijaya, she earned a master's degree in tourist management at Pelita Harapan Tourist Academy, bachelor degree in business management at Bina Nusantara University, and master's degree in information system at Bina Nusantara University. She started the career as a practitioner in the hospitality and tourism and international business industries for 15 years. It's already long experience. She obtained a doctoral degree in service management at Riza University. Her research interests including management, marketing, tourism, hospitality, artificial intelligence is a very interesting topic, Internet of Things, and education. The title of the presentation of Ms. Lianna Wijaya is International Business, Opportunities and Challenges in Post-Pandemic. So please, Lianna, the time is yours. You have 30 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Mr. Sebastian. I'm sharing my screen now. Whether you can just let me know whether it's already showing clearly.
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so buenos dias, everyone. It's a good morning in Buenos Aires and also good evening in Indonesia. So thank you for this opportunity hosted by Observatoria de Comercio Internacional, Departamento de Ciencias Sociales, Universidad Nacional de Luján, for this opportunity for me as a speaker in this conference. So welcome to the round number 1, International Trade and Logistics, and also the 6th National Congress of International Trade, the 3rd National Meeting of Cluster and Logistics Service. So according to Mr. Sebastian, you already know my name. My name is Lianna. I'm the faculty member and also lecturer from the management department, Binus Online Learning, Binus Nusantara University, Indonesia. So in this kind of this time, I will share my insights regarding the title, International Business, Opportunities and Challenges in Post-Pandemic. So first I will show you this one. So I think when you take a look, we all know that we already passed one of the very chaotic moment in the 2020. All of us, I think no exclusion. We see the pandemic. We experienced the pandemic in the 2020, and it takes quite long, almost 3 years to experience this pandemic. And of course, this pandemic impact to the trade and development for each country. In here, I showing you the graphic before the pandemic and also after the pandemic. So the light green color, a little bit like Tosca color, is 2019. So, but it's under 2020, is a blue color. So you can try to see these charts, or it's all the country mostly in the world facing really challenges for the foreign direct investment. Even though you can take a look, they are really struggling for this trade and development, most likely for the international trade. And even though if you take a look, my country also, we got impacted, even though not really a big gap. But if you take a look to United States, China not really so impact. Another one like Singapore, and also some in the Europe area, they have very struggling for this foreign direct investment dropping, right? And also I show you also one of the pictures that really memorize us. During the pandemic, I can take a look, a lot of container not really used in the port. But when I do my international trade before the pandemic, this container gone. We are really difficult to find the container before the pandemic. And even though when I want to make a business with overseas partner, I really begging them for one container 20 feet or maybe 40 feet. I really have need to make a good relations with the freight forwarder, begging them for give me one container. But during the pandemic, it's really not really saying that it's difficult to find the container, but the thing is, the border is closed. And then the freight forwarder cannot promise us when the products or your things will be arrived in the destination on time. So it's really making what you call disruptions. So the supply chains getting so high disruptions during pandemic, because of the country's closures, because of the policy and so on, and each country make their own procedure to enter their country because of the transmission of the pandemic, right? And then this also graphic showing you really badly in the 2020, it's from the World Trade Organization, WTO. It's really huge gap, right? It's a really huge down. And even though in the 2015, you can take a look, it cannot cover it. It's really back down there, but hopefully they say it will be bounced back very soon. And I also really agree about this one. It will be very soon to be bounced back. Because why? Because digitalizations. So digitalizations nowadays, it's why it can be bounce back very quickly, because of the during pandemic, everybody without any excuse, they need, without any choice, they don't have any choice for the digitalizations. We know the internet and communication technology mostly used for the business before the pandemic as well, but during the pandemic, they have no choice. It's become necessary for the company, for the each of individual of people to digitalize their business. So in this case, so we can take a look that this digitalizations after the pandemic is become a necessity rather than a choice anymore. So in the last time, maybe people say, it's not necessary for me to invest a lot in the technology, digitalization, my procedure of the business, but the pandemic changed everything. So they need a digitalization to strengthen their business. They need to be resilient for their supply chains. In addition, also to interact with the customer. Nowadays, maybe customer, because of the pandemic also, we are not necessary to have a face-to-face meeting. Right now, I also not necessary to have be on site in the Buenos Aires. We are getting used to use this digital because of the pandemic thing. So now a company also use this digitalization to interact with the customer, right? And also you all can name it like a lot of technology, like the cloud computing, and also the digital payment. It make easy for us to make a transaction cross-border nowadays, right? And also there is also another advanced technology like the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, blockchain solutions, virtual and augmented reality, and also the 5G network is really helping to support the international business nowadays. And the big data, now they are used it to identify some inefficiency and waste maybe in the supply chains network. But the problem is digitalization, they cause challenges. Some country with a very good, or maybe I can say that this country is a leader in the development and deployment of the technology. Of course, they will benefit, they will get the benefit from this growing investment, from this growing technology. But how about the countries that really lack of technology? That's become a challenge, right? Okay, so now we are talking also still the digitalization impact to the digital trade. So what we call with the digital trade is about the commerce enabled by electronic means. Of course, the electronic means is the telecommunication and ICT service. So it can be covered your trade in goods and maybe in the services. So digitalizations create a new trade opportunities and the potential to support the resilience in times of disruptions like in the pandemic, and also to help the economics and the firm with the low level of digital preparedness. Because if the company don't have preparations for the digital trade, so they will be falling further behind. So this going to be challenges for the businesses, for the company, need to adapt to the technology. Because you know why? The result for this digitalization in this digital trade, it's enable all the business and the trading to reach more and more, to reach border global. I can make a transaction to the buyers in any countries in the world through the digitalizations. I can reach global audience of the customer who digitally connected with me, digitally connected with my product, with the businesses around the world, right? So this is the easy for the digital trade. And the digitalizations, it also can increase the scale of the trade, the scope of my trade, and also the speed of the trading. It's allow one of the companies to bring new product and service to the large number of the targeted customer around the globe. It also enables the firms when they are small company to reach border and also a lot of customer market in the global market. So now when you take a look to the digitalizations, it's really helping us for the international trade, right? Okay, now we're talking also about during the pandemic, you may take a look that digitalization changing. We are witness that the growth of the online. This is who likes online shopping? You do online shopping most of the time during the pandemic, of course, right? So, but now after the pandemic, how's the online shopping? Is it still famous? Of course, still. During the pandemic, we can take a look, people doing a lot of sending parcels, number of small parcels, even though when you need a product outside, like as I remember during the pandemic, we really need vitamin D, right? Everybody need in the world, I may say like everybody need this kind of vitamins, right? And then how we can get the supplies. Some of the people using online shopping to purchase from United States, and also maybe to purchase from another suppliers to bring it into Indonesia, so we can accommodate, we can still fulfill the domestic demand for vitamin D. During the pandemic, it's really a difficult moment, right? Difficult moment during the pandemic. We can take a look that everybody is looking for medical equipment. For example, the mask. Yeah, we in the beginning of the pandemic, we are really experienced the mask is really become rare things to do, right? And then after that one, when the supply chains has been accommodating, because the international trade has bring the mask from the mask and also the equipment for the medical from the one supplier to another supplier to the another country. It's really to fulfill the demand, but after that one it's quite smooth, right? We are no more afraid that we are running out of the mask nowadays, right? Okay, talking also about the digital trade right now. So if you take a look that you can digital order right now because of the pandemic, you can now very easy to order a products and service overseas and bring it over here, right? But that's only if you ready about technology. But remember, we have one case in here that we need to pay attention. Is what is this? Anybody know about digital divide? This digital divide is become our challenges. Many people not really sure, and then we cannot say like everybody has the same technology capability in its country, but we are facing now is developed and developing country in this globe, right? And also the people from the urban and also from the rurals, and also young one, and also the education versus the older populations, and also less educated individual maybe, and also how about the men and women? They got a lot of gap in the digital device between. They can cause also mental health for one individual to another individual. Whether I cannot do e-commerce, but my friend can do, so it can cause me a mental health because I cannot make a purchase using e-commerce, and also the educational barriers. And of course, if you take a look, the online bookings nowadays, even though it's very easy to adapt, right? But we're still facing this digital divide, right? Digital divide is something like we call that is a gap. It's a gap between some countries to another countries about digitalizations, adaptations, right? Okay, but after we take a look to the digitalizations and also the digital divide as a challenges and also as the opportunities for the international trade. So we are gonna to say right now, what is the solutions? We are really facing these kind of things. We are really struggling for the adapting the technology, digitalization. I cannot mention like everybody, it will be the same technology adaptation, yeah, but we have a different adaptation skills between developed country, developing country, between older people, young people, men and also women, and educated people and also less educated people. So let's take a look, right? What the solution will be offered for these challenges. Number one. Oh, number two. Okay, we put number one is a ICT connectivity. In here, we mention like developing nations, developing country. Of course, they have a very nice, it's a build and also maintain very high speed and dependable and affordable networks and to adapt the digitalizations. Of course, in this kind of situation, we need to ensure as well whether the availability of the affordable devices in order to ensure adequate and also affordable and relate connectivity for people and business to engage digital trade in the countries by increasing public investment in the infrastructure of the ICT connectivity. With this kind of solution, of course, everybody can get the internet. everyone, not really mentioned only in the developing country, but also in the developed country, underdeveloped country, whether they have a connection for the internet and infrastructure, all their country. So it will be easy for them to start in their international trade, to start in their business globally, and so on, right? And number two, solutions is number two is about human capital things, about educations, skills, and awareness. When we take a look to the educations, we are saying like with the education, we are expanding the opportunity to have workers and also teachers, yeah, to upgrade their skill through the digital literacy program, because we know that with this kind of digital literacy, and it will be increased the human capital capability and understanding about technology. We need also to collaborate with the another countries in developing and also have a good method to teach the human capital in the one country, to teach them about how the technology, how to make business using a technology, and also how to policymakers to make this digital trade to become capable in each country, right? So if you take a look, education still and also awareness, it's important to get as a solutions, number two. And then for the number three solution is about increasing or optimizing the trade facilitation. We understand that country must adjust about the digital distribution, about digital equipment for the international trade, because you know the cross-border for the e-commerce nowadays is really very short. Everybody can do trading. Everybody can do trading around the world, right? But remember, is the country provide the trade facilitation or not? Because we understand also we need to simplify also the export procedure. Many countries, they have very difficult for the export procedure, because the export procedure is really difficult, very complex for them. So they are avoiding doing export. So at the end, when the import is higher, when the import is bigger than the export, the country will facing a problem as well. So when the country make easy and also simplifying the export procedure, many people try to find the products or maybe the services that they can sell globally. So it's easy for the trade facilitation, right? And then the next one is about micro entrepreneurs and the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. We understand that, of course, if like a big company is a big investment of enterprise, it's really easy for them for the digital investment. But how about the small one, the micro, the small, medium-sized enterprise? Of course, we will need to help them to increase the usage of the ICT. During the pandemic, at least the economy in Indonesia not really struggling because of the international trade, right? Because we have our small and medium enterprise, it's really tried already for the digitalization. So they're helping the economy of the countries. So, and also the government provide digital literacy for all the actors from the small and medium size of enterprises. In here, we can take a look if we can develop them. We can develop all the micro entrepreneur, small and medium sized entrepreneur. They can be more dependent and also on the digital solutions, so they can use it for their own business, right? And then another solution is about gender-based inclusion. Some countries, maybe they have gender-based inclusion. They maybe say, okay, normally international trade is for the male, but right now they have to take a look. The female role models in the digital trade is also important, right? To expand the business and also to reach international market. And the last solution, of course, related to the government and the politics, is about regulatory frameworks. So the countries also need to establish appropriate and also policy laws and the regulation. Remember, when the international business to become digital trade, a lot of things they need to make the framework, to make the regulation. It's because of what? Because of the cybercrime is getting so much right now, and also counterfeit product is become so easy to get. Counterfeit is a big challenges for the international trade. People can get easy to get a counterfeit product and to distribute in one countries. So it's going to be another challenges for the government. So they need to have strong regulatory framework for this digital trade international. Okay, yeah, so this is all the solutions that I may put inside about the opportunities and also the challenges for the international trade after the pandemic sessions, with some solutions can be catered on for all the stakeholders to pay attention for this international trade. Okay, so this is my last slide. Thank you so much for your attentions and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lianna. It was very, very interesting because this is a topic so urgent priority, no, has become from the pandemic, and some of these topics, if not all the topics, actually will be continue necessary to be adapted, especially from the developing countries. Yeah. So every slide of your presentation was really very attractive. Yeah, very interesting to continue the discussion, actually, like a round table together. Maybe there are some people from the audience, students, they want to make some questions. But I would like to start the session of the questions already with one question from my side. And I want to ask you if maybe from your side, I mean from Indonesia, you can see already from the government since the pandemic, of course, any of these solutions that you mentioned before recently, like the government highlighted or already passed in order to help the business community, of course.
Yes, from the pandemic, we learned that our government really support Indonesian government, right? Our Indonesian government really support this micro entrepreneur and also the small and medium-sized entrepreneur. They give them stimulations to develop their business and also to survive during pandemic. Because we know that if the government not supporting them, how they can get a fund? How can they get survive during the pandemic? The big company even already collapsed because of the pandemic. But if the government not pay attention and also not really care about the micro entrepreneur and also small medium sized entrepreneur, this is going to be a very difficult and also economic boom in Indonesia. So when they're helping the small and the micro entrepreneur, micro business, the small and medium sized entrepreneur, it can be helping them to survive. At least they can survive during the pandemic. The strong, when they become strong, when they become capable to do their business, so it will be easy for the government also to try for this pandemic, because the small and the medium enterprise is a lot in Indonesia. We need to take care of them, give them opportunity a lot to survive, right? Because when we are helping them, the number is a lot. We try to help the most numerous enterprises, even though they are very small, even though they are micro, but they are still a foundation for our economic in this nation.
Thank you, Lianna. I don't know if there is any question from the audience, from the chat, from the video on YouTube. Gustavo, maybe?
I have here one student from International Trade degree who wants to ask a question to our speaker.
Hello, I am how I commerce, digital commerce. I help an economy Argentine is have a regular economy.
Pardon me?
Lo que quería preguntar es cómo el comercio digital podría ayudar a una economía tan regulada como es la Argentina.
Okay, the question was made from one of our students, actually, Lianna, from Argentina. And his question is related to the digital trade, to the e-commerce, no? It's related in general, we can say, to the digital economy. How can help, we can say, to the developing countries? Can be Argentina, can be any Latin American country, actually, can be Indonesia, of course. So what is your opinion? Can be a little more specific about this important topic, helping again to these developing economies like Argentina, like Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your question, right? Basically, digital commerce can create opportunity for the business for all individual in the one country if they can use the technology to make their business. Because when you talk about digital commerce, it make a lot of opportunities for you to sell or maybe buy a product to sell in the domestic market or vice versa. You have your product in your country to sell it abroad, or you have a product from abroad to sell it to the market in your country. So this is really making, like, for example, it can create a job. It can create business, because nowadays, if you take a look, country is really have a developing, or maybe the GDP is become so good if they can create a job. They can create a lot of business, they can create employment, so they can make a very good country and also a very high GDP to helping their economy. So when you say like digital commerce helping nation, of course, because of the business, the opportunity of business is a lot. Many things that you can do, and maybe not right now, maybe you cannot say like everybody is looking for the same product right nowadays. No, because you are not really see what is the potential product to sell in your market, or maybe to sell your product to another potential market abroad, like Indonesia. I'm telling you, Indonesia, a lot of things that we are not really seeing clearly. A lot of things in Indonesia is really important out there. For example, if you know the arang is a briquette. Every country like facing the four-season country, winter things, Japan and another Europe and United States, they are looking for the natural briquette. And then for us in Indonesia, we put it like a rubbish. We just treat it as a trash. We are not saying that they got a value for this product anymore. Even though when I tell look arang and also I take a look briquette, I say, what is this for? I only use it when I do a charcoal things, when I do have a barbecue things, I use it. But during the most of the time, I never use it. But over there, outside, in the overseas, they are looking for these things. So yeah, try to find a potential product to sell abroad, or maybe to bring another potential product to your home country. Maybe right now you cannot identify that, but slowly when you take a look to the market, you have a market analysis, you can find that one. Is that there are a lot of unlimited opportunities. Now, maybe the question, the answer is from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Is there any other question?
Apparently, Seba, we don't have more questions here. So if you want to continue with the next speaker.
Yes, we will proceed with the other one. And yes, even after the final presentation of the three speakers, we come back maybe with a final conclusion for the round number one, the first round. So maybe we come back again, maybe with some of the highlights again from Lianna. Thank you so much, Lianna, yeah, for the presentation. Very interesting. Now we will proceed with a colleague from Juliana, because from the same university, actually. We will present to Yudhita Valen Prasarry. Hopefully my presentation is okay. The introduction, I mean, Ibu, yeah. About Yudhita, let me introduce. She had a master's degree of business administration at Wijaya University. She's currently a doctoral student in management studies at Wijaya University. This university is located actually in the eastern side in Java Island, okay? She's currently providing online courses on global supply chain management materials at udemy.com as instructor, I think, yeah? She's faculty member at Binus Online Learning, Bina Nusantara University, like also Lianna before. She has received several awards inside Binus Online Learning because of her commitment. Congratulations, Ibu Yudhita. She has written several publications on digital matters, very interesting, of course. And the title presentation of Ibu Yudhita is The Importance of Green Supply Chain. Listen again, Green Supply Chain Management, Objective, Benefit, and Challenge. I think it's going to be also very interesting. So please, Ibu, time is yours. You have 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me share our screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'd like, first of all, to thank the organizer of this meeting, Observatory of International Trade, for inviting me here today. It's a great to see you all. My name is Yudhita, and I'm faculty member in Business Management Department, Binus Online Learning, Binus University, Indonesia. Today, I'm here to provide you some exciting information about green supply chains management, the objective, benefit, and challenge, as you can see on the screen. Right. Okay, next. And this is our agenda today. We will talk about green supply chains management, what is it, and green supply chains management, what's the matter, and the objective of green supply chains management, and challenges in implementing green supply chains management, and then the conclusions. And then the last part, we will have a Q&A session. Okay. So when you heard about supply chains, what comes to your mind first? Let us think. What is the supply chains before we talk about green supply chains management? The supply chains consist of all parties involved directly or indirectly in fulfilling a customer request. The supply chains includes not only the manufacturer and suppliers, but also transporter, warehouses, retailers, and even customers themselves. As we can see in every organizations or companies, such as a manufacturer, the supply chains concern all the functions involved in receiving and fulfilling customer demand. These functions include, but are not limited to new product development, marketing, operations, distributions, finance, and customer service. And supply chains management is the management of the flow of either goods or services, money, and informations, including all processes that transform raw materials into final products. But if we want to learn supply chains management in deep learning, there are so many functions or activities that can relate about supply chains management. As you can see on the screen, there are supply chain strategy, supply chains planning, logistics, distributions, procurement, productions, supplier, transportations, information technology and communications, and then the value and profit. Supply chains management actually manages the supply activities of a business to maximize customer value and gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And also we can define supply chains management as the management of the flow of goods, data, and finances related to a product or services, from the procurement of raw materials to the delivery of the product as its final destinations. And then, so now before we talk about green supply chains management, we have, I think we will look about this arrow shape, and then we call it manage the environmental. Okay, what is the influence of the manage the environmental regarding supply chains management and green supply chains management? Organizations or companies have realized that to effectively manage the environmental burdens caused by industry and trade, they need to look beyond just their most immediate operations and processes. Organizations need to consider their supply chains from both upstream and downstream. There is a concept for company-wide adoptions of greening and environmental management efforts. Organizations need to consider what forces cause them to focus on green initiatives, many of which go beyond legal and regulatory requirements. So this is due to several environmental issues faced by the organizations, the community, and the natural environment. Okay, a green supply chains is one that considers the environmental impact of all products and processes, including the environmental impact of goods, products, and processes from raw materials to finished products, and then the final disposal of these products. It means a set of green management practices to help organizations operate more sustainability and efficiently. There are some activities in green supply chains management based on circuit and review arguments in 2018. Okay. First, eco-design, and then eco-design and supplier relationship, and second, green and local relationship, third, green procurement and purchasing, fourth, green and supplier development and collaborations, and then fifth, green logistic and transportations, and the last is about reverse logistic and economy. So eco-design is a reverse to environmental design of a product and process. Eco-design focuses on reducing and avoiding the environmental impacts of a product before it is manufactured, distributed, and used. And eco-design can examine product disassembly at the end of life and then expose the cost of benefits and environmental impacts of revision, reuse, and recycling. So the level of supplier involvement in the eco-design program is, I think it's required. And about the aim of green purchasing is to minimize the harmful environmental impacts over products' whole life cycle of manufacturing, transportations, use, and then reuse, recycling, and remanufacturing, and disposal, of course. Actually, purchasing priorities focused on economic dimensions. And what about supplier development? It's regarded as a long-term cooperative effort by a buying company to increase its suppliers' capabilities and performance. So the concept of supplier development might also be used to meet environmental objectives within supply chains. And green supplier development as a collaborative effort by a buyer to help suppliers reduce their negative environmental impact and, of course, improve their environmental performance. So we move to green logistic activities. Involve the delivery of materials, parts, and then material inventory, the primary products inventory, the distributions of primary products, and the sales of product to customer along the supply chains. Due to packaging's influence on logistic management, distributions, and transportations, we try to include packaging as a part of the logistic functions. Spare parts may also be an issue for greening logistic activities, and their greater uncertainty in demand makes it more difficult to manage them efficiently and in an environmentally sound way. And then what about closed loop supply chain? It is consists of both forward purchasing raw materials and parts, processing, assembling, and retailing. And reverse is about recollecting, repairing, remanufacturing, and then recycling and disposing supply chains processes. And international supply chains management is a critical aspect of managing the supply chain. Yeah, global strategies and operations within the context of greening supply chains are considered in this time, and the overall viewpoint of these multi-level relationships and flows are described. So how internationalizations, multinational enterprises, and various international management dimensions can contribute. That's important. And then we move to the slide. Why do companies need green supply chains management? You know, environmental damage caused by an increase in industries with environmentally unsustainable activities actually. The environmental burdens can occur in different media such as air, water, or land at various levels such as global, regional, and local levels. So the global issues affect various regions around the world. And the most common environmental issues are global warming and climate change, right? Regional issues impact regional areas. And then, for example, like acid rain. Acid rain is a major issue in many developing countries due to the increasing manufacturing problems related to acidifications of lakes and waterways, which can impact many aquatic species and the communities that depend on those water supplies. You can imagine that, how big the bad impact of burden environmental. So, and then the local problem are those that many impact areas instead of whole regions. For example, like using pesticides may affect local waterways and agricultural regions. And then the purpose of green supply chains management. There are several benefits when a company implements the supply chains, green supply chains management. Based on the this figure on the screen, there are benefits such as waste reductions, emissions, and then resource efficiency, reduce costs, gain environmental sustainability, and then improve image and reputations. Let's review them one by one. Okay, now first, reduce waste. Improper management of industrial waste has taken to toll on the natural earth, with dangerous chemicals left untreated by industrial. Flora and fauna are in danger due to outdated supply chain modes. one of the important changes in the green supply chain mechanism is the minimal or even zero residual impact, thus helping the industries to better manage their industrial wastage programs. This involves implementing eco-friendly production methods and choosing packaging materials to minimize the waste on the part of the consumer when the goods are delivered. And then the purpose of reduced emissions and pollutions. Actually, greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane are released when fossil fuels are burned, right? And then green supply chains management can help reduce these gases emissions by promoting the use of green energy sources, actually, green transportation methods and energy efficient manufacturing processes. Regularly adopting green supply chains management practices make it possible to achieve a significant reduction in emissions over time, which will help mitigate climate change. So organizations have adopted appropriate methods and technologies to make all supply chains functions accountable and environmentally responsible. And then resource efficiency, of course. Making supply chains green will make it more resource efficient. Yeah. After all, one of the main goals of green operations is to minimize waste and optimize processes. And by cooperating with green supply chains management and then green supply chains partners, you can be able to knowing that they are also committed to resource efficiency and waste reductions. There is also the potential to share best practices and learn from each other to improve green operations. And then reduce costs. Efficient waste management will help reduce the company's operational cost. Cost reductions can occur through the eliminations of waste or by making the more efficient processes. Pollution means that there is inefficiency and that there is increased waste and cost when the supply chains generates waste and they increase their costs. So therefore, eliminating waste flows will help to reduce costs, and both very tangible ones, such as a waste disposal cost, and intangible ones, such as employee life when viewed across the supply chains and across the organizations. This cost may be considerable. Indirect cost to society, which can be internalized through taxes, fines, and penalties, will also be reduced by green supply chains management. And then gain environmental sustainability. Green supply chains management can help to improve the environmental sustainability of a company's operations. It is because green supply chains management often lead to reduced resource consumptions, waste generations, and improve energy efficiency. In turn, these benefits can help to reduce a company's environmental impact and improve its overall sustainability performance. And then what about improve image and reputation? This is interesting. Most consumers around the world believe that business need to help improve the environment. These belief factors into buying decisions and can hurt companies that don't adopt sustainable practices. It also affects even businesses that don't sell directly to consumers. Businesses seeking to reduce the environmental impact will look into company policies on sustainable business practices. As a result, the company will find it easier to attract and retain customers. It is evident that green supply chains management can have a positive impact on various aspects of a company's operations. And then as the world increasingly focuses on sustainability, companies need to understand and implement green practices in their supply chain. And green supply chain is not only good for the environment, but also for a company's reputations. It can contribute to a company's CSR, corporate social responsibility initiative, yeah? And it can help a company to be perceived as environmentally responsible and committed to sustainable practices. It will positively impact the company's brand and reputations. So in today's business world, consumer and other stakeholders are increasingly interested in working with companies that are strongly committed to environmental sustainability. And then this is a green supply chains challenge. I tried to divide into two base view, from the internal base view and then from the external base view. So based on the internal view, there's a different perspective and cultures, and then less of knowledge, informations and experience, and then lack of resources and financial limitations, and then fear of failure. So green supply chains initiative have shown positive result for many companies, but it doesn't mean that there are no challenges to implementations. Yeah. And then what is the challenge based on the external view? There's a government support and directions, and then lack of actual environmental measurement of this new system, and then affordability of green products and materials, and the last, no management involvement from partners. So the conclusion from this presentation is green supply chains management has been strategic and operational focus for most companies. Yeah. And then I'd like to highlight that green supply chains management to make the biggest impact in increasing environmental performance, organizations can no more just look inside, but we need to partner to look outside too. Because that brings us to the end. Thank you for your time and attention. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yudhita, for this interesting topic again, same like the first presentation before. And I wonder actually how difficult can be this topic, especially for the small and medium companies, like in Indonesia, like even in our country, in Argentina or Latin American countries, because actually this kind of topic is becoming like an obstacle for these especially small and medium companies when they want to adventure abroad for export or for import, for investment, whatever. And sometimes I think they are facing these kind of challenges related to the green topic, no? So what do you think, in your opinion, maybe based from the experience, maybe from your region, actually, no? From East Java province, what do you think, how difficult it can be for the small and medium companies? This is my question.
Okay, I beg your pardon, sir. It's a phrase. Can you repeat again the questions?
Yes, my question is, in your region, in your province, in East Java, Jawa Timur, how difficult can be for the small and medium companies the environmental topic, the global supply chain, the green global supply chain, when they want, for example, to export the products, and maybe there is like a regulation or not regulation, but maybe like a requirement, you know, from the importer company abroad about to be environmentally friendly, to using green technology, green procedures, etc., etc. So what do you think maybe from the opinion you can get in your province about that?
Okay. That's interesting questions, Mr. Sterzer. Okay, in East Java, Jawa Timur, the province where I live, and actually this is the one of the biggest province that there are so many industry in this province, and then East Java province has many small medium enterprises too, but the challenge for them about implement green supply chains management, I think, is about a lack of informations and then lack of knowledge how to implement the green supply chains properly. Yeah, so we need support from the government, not only fund, but we need the government to give them like training about how we implementing supply chains, and then how we implementing supply chains management, and how we implementing green supply chains management. Because if they don't have enough knowledge about that, I think the result would be fail. It's not only fund that they need, but they need a training. Yeah, and then not only that, the government must give them support by giving them a partner from professional, and then to training them so they can implement green supply chains properly. And it will need long process, cannot instant. Yeah. Hopefully it's answered your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Gustavo?
And I have a question here. Thanks for your presentation. We are thinking here about our small enterprises in Argentina. So what do you think, according to your experience and your professional point of view, what could be the main challenges for developing countries about green supply?
Yeah, mostly most of the citizens of the developing countries must have they have to realize that the environment is has a one focus for now to implementing green supply chains, because we cannot deny that the destructions of environment caused by industrial. Yeah, we cannot deny that. We cannot deny, and so we need to make them understand and realize that this is the serious issues. You know, the climate change, it will be increased now, and then organizations must be realized that to effectively manage the environmental burdens caused industrial and trade. So they need to look beyond just their most immediate operation and processes. And organizations need to consider that their supply chains from both upstream and downstream. Yeah, green supply chains is one that consider the environmental impact of all products and processes, including the environmental impact of goods, products, and processes from raw material to finished goods and the final disposal of these products. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Gustav.
Thank you. Is any question, Gustavo, maybe from YouTube, or it's okay?
Apparently, no, we don't have more questions here.
Okay, it's okay. Well, thank you so much, Yudhita. Later on, we come back again to you. And now let's proceed with our another colleague from Indonesia, with Mr. Riza Noer Arfani. He has a very big experience, I could see from the from the CV. So I will try to make like a summary, okay, about your experience, because it's necessary to introduce you to the audience. Very interesting. About Mr. Riza, let me tell you, please. He is a scholar in international relations, international political economy, with more than 20 years of experience in academic, teaching, and research, works and policy consultancy. Major topics and issues of interest include international trade, environment and governance, and conflict management. Since 2010, he has been working with the World Trade Organization under its academic chairs program and other trade-related international research centers and networks. Adept in managing higher education workspace and international collaborations since the end of the 1990s at the Department of International Relations, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Gadjah Mada. This is located in Yogyakarta. I had the possibility to visit also this university. Is also one of the biggest in Indonesia. The title of the presentation of Mr. Riza is Statecrafting the Economy and Indonesia's Experience in the Realms of Economic Diplomacy, Case on Latin America. Let's see what Mr. Riza can help us to introduce this kind of topic and how maybe we can connect Indonesia with our region, Latin America. Please, Mr. Riza, the time is yours. You have 30 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Sebastian, for again connecting us with your networks in Argentina, in Latin America. Thank you very much, Mr. Alves from the OCI for organizing this very important seminar. And again, thank you also for initiating that could be probability of future collaboration with us at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Let me share my screen here, Pak Sebastian. Is it visible now? Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Also, thank you very much, Bu Lianna, and also Bu Yudhita, for very interesting presentations. To be honest, I'm really learn a lot from your presentations, both of you. And in fact, the two topics are quite related to my interest, either on digital economy and also on environmental related topics of international trade. So I learned a lot from that, and I got many insights on that. And probably I will be also touching upon on those two topics with regards to my topic of presentations tonight or this morning in Argentina, where I would like to sort of like initiate a discussion at the macro level of analysis of the policy realms of how an economy like Indonesia connect with other southern countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And I will come up with a particular case on the initiative of INALAC Business Forum, which has been introduced, proposed, and initiated by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 2019. And I think Pak Sebastian is very very familiar with this forum, and I believe he is part of the forum since the beginning of the initiative in 2019. And in fact, last year, Pak Sebastian also part of our collaborations on circular economy and in Latin America and Indonesia, and part of the forum is, of course, how to connect the two regions, Southeast Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean, within these broad topics of circular economy. And it really connects with digital trade, but also with green supply chains that Abu Yudhita has just presented. So let me propose these three parts of my presentations. The first one I will touch upon very briefly on the INALAC Business Forum, the IBF. I will try to briefly describe its profile, achievements, and the updates up to last year's forum. And then the second part of my presentation would be my core claim or core proposal to this seminar, which focus on how to understand economic diplomacy in terms of the involvement, the engagement of government policy of the state. And I would suggest this term state crafting, of that kind of activities done by the state, especially the national government, on its economic diplomacy. And I will use the INALAC case as part of the understanding on how Indonesia have their best efforts to connect with Latin American societies, Latin American businesses, and the Caribbean businesses, despite its major challenges, despite of a very tiny portions of our connected trade between the two regions. So I would suggest that INALAC would be the so far the best platform for us in Indonesia to connect with the industries, the societies, the business, the communities in Latin America and the Caribbean. So that's part of my proposal. And lastly, on my third part of my presentation, I would suggest some research agenda, but also policy agenda, which will be focusing on how to connect the economy at home on both sides in Indonesia, and also probably Argentina would be a very good example of that, but also how then to conduct what I call here as policy partnerships. So that's basically the proposals of my presentations and the outline of my presentations. I'll begin with the first part on what is INALAC Business Forum. I've mentioned that it began in 2019 with the main goal to enhance economic relations between both regions amidst a very dynamic global economic situation. Even in the pre-pandemic era, we have come up with a very difficult situation when it comes to the two regions' economic cooperation. Yes, we do have so many bilateral schemes, but then at the level of business, at the level of practical conducts of business and industry, we're still lacking many things. It really reflects in our very tiny trade volumes or values between the two regions. So this forum could be the one that that probably reflect our intentions, probably our inclinations to manifest the close relation and strong commitments between the two regions. The achievements have been so far so good, or probably we look at the values that have been committed to this forum, it's quite spectacular in terms of the trade deals, investment commitments, but also economic cooperation signed by the two regions. And the updates for the past 2 years of the forum have been related to what Lianna also mentioned earlier, that we are benefiting from digital trade. And I think the introductions of the so-called in-access digital platform would also serve such opportunity to connect digitally between the two regions. And it has been completed with not only online product showcases, but also e-catalog of Indonesian investment project, Indonesian tourism destination, virtual one-on-one business matching, and also the business network itself. So I think this will be a big opportunity for us to see in the near future, and also in the long run, yeah, of the two countries, the two regions' economic operations. Now I'll come to my part 2 of my presentation. I would say that when we talk about the roles of the government, as also mentioned by Bu Lianna and also Bu Yudhita, then we should talk beyond the official policy of that. If we talk about state policy on trade, on economic policy, then we should talk about strategic roles of the state. And in this case, I would suggest this origins of the statecrafting that have been manifested in the very core of economic liberalizations of the United States of America. I would say that this term of economic statecrafting was introduced by the state minister of the U.S., Hillary Clinton, back then in 2011, to sort of like understand and comprehend, but also to mitigate the so-called emerging superpower of China. And I think in the past 5 years, Latin American countries have been so much very close to China in terms of their collaborations, especially through its Belt and Road Initiative. The same happening also in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia. And it has been very strategic when we talk about the rise of China. But at the same time, every nation then should come up with this statecrafting idea of their own economic diplomacy, simply because we are conducting economic relations not in a blank space, not in a naive situation, but it is at the center of geopolitical tensions, at the centers of how geoeconomy then also really affect the way geopolitics is conducted by these two big economies, the U.S. and China. So that's the idea. And when we talk about this statecrafting mechanism, and I'll come up with these ideas that when we talk about statecrafting the economic diplomacy, then we need to talk at least 3 key elements: the foreign policy itself, but the foreign policy that need to be understood beyond strategic objectives and geographical dimensions, moving beyond neo-realist applications of economic means of power by states, so as to realize strategic objectives. Meaning that, yes, we do understand that political means could be the options for our economic objectives, but also we do need to understand the vice versa situation where economic tools could be part of political objectives. So those two things are quite related. And in this case, I would suggest that we need to, strictly speaking, to be more focused on our diplomacy to commodities sectors that are strategic to each nation. So when we talk about Indonesia, Southeast Asia relations with Latin America and the Caribbean countries, then we need to map out what are our strategic objectives, what are our priority sectors, what are our priority commodities. So for example, when we talk about extractive commodities such as mining industries, we need to have more deep collaborations among ourselves, yeah, to sort of also like to collaborate in terms of helping the industry to be part of the wider energy transitions scheme at the global level, at the interregional level. Also, when we talk about plantations, for example, palm oil, we need also to talk about how to make our like-minded countries in Latin America, the Caribbean, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, should also be connected with the ideas of environmentally friendly conducts of plantations, and how we deal with the so-called EU protectionisms to our commodity products, yeah, like palm oil and so forth. We also have to collaborate with this on this, and in fact, next week I'll be at the WTO Public Forum with our Brazilian colleagues and also some of Indian colleagues to talk about these palm oil products and how we deal with the so-called EU deforestation-free regulation, EUDR, where I think it will be very impactful to our commodities. So lastly, the third element of this is our economy at home. How we should create sectoral-based roadmaps in our economy at home. And I've talked with Sebastián a year ago that part of the problems is the domestic side of our side in Indonesia. And we need to share this with Argentinian colleagues like Pak Sebastián and Mr. Alves. We need to discuss more on what challenges that we have respectively in our country, and then how then we could connect in terms of policy making, in terms of research collaboration between us, between our universities, and so forth. I'll come back to that at my last part on that, but that's the idea. And then I'll just very briefly talk about we need to redefine our strategic objectives. We need to shift paradigm of the study of diplomacy and in particular economic diplomacy. So then in the Indonesian case, probably what we need to learn a lot is how then INALAC Business Forum could then be part of the platforms of track 2, track 3, track 4 diplomacy of our side. And the same applies to our colleagues in Latin America, in the Caribbean, and in particular in Argentina. So far, I think we have been very good, excellent in track 1 diplomacy, government to government. But in track 2, track 3, we need more solidification, more ideas, initiative. And I think Pak Sebastián have initiated that. So I really appreciate what Pak Sebastián has been doing in the past 5 years, back and forth, Indonesia, Argentina, and we need more people like Pak Sebastián. So we need another Pak Sebastian, others Pak Sebastian in Indonesia, and we need also someone like I don't know, are there Indonesians in Argentina that probably could be the role model to connect the two countries, the two communities? I believe not. No, probably many of them coming from governments, officials, but I don't know in industries, in business, or even in communities. I think we need to begin identify and encourage people to move back and forth from to Indonesia to Argentina. So that's the idea. And this is the conceptual framework that we've been using in our center. We'll be using the works of Meike Okano Hman to understand the working of track 2, track 3, track 4, and so forth of our economic diplomacy. We have these ideas of having political tools, but also with the primary goals of economy, of welfare, of the so-called what Bu Lianna mentioned, the countering the digital divide in the digital trade. I think commercial diplomacy, trade diplomacy should be or has to be at the core of our economic diplomacy, meaning that the involvement, engagement of industries like the one that have been represented in the INALAC Business Forum should be developed further. I think in the cases of some FTAs, some CEPA with our colleagues in Chile, in Pacific Alliance, we have been also introducing some chapters that could be connected these elements of commercial diplomacy and trade diplomacy. And I'll just skip this part to save the time. This is the context of the INALAC when it comes to our economic diplomacy realms, our economic diplomacy efforts. As you probably learned, we have been very focused on economic diplomacy since the beginning of this current government of under Pak Joko Widodo presidency. Yeah. In 2014, he began to talk about that foreign affairs, foreign diplomacy need to be focused on economic ones. And into 2016, then we have the roadmaps on that. And I think we have learned about that a lot in the past 10 years. But my point is that we still have so many things to do inside our home, yeah, our domestic life. We have specific issues how to tackle with interest and performance of value attributions indicators that connect Indonesia or in the wider sense Southeast Asia with Latin America and the Caribbean. I think we need to have common perception on that. We still have a lacking perception on how to connect with the two regions, especially when it comes to distance, yeah. In terms of physical distance, geographical distance, but also in terms of cultural distance. Both issues has to be settled among the key stakeholders, and I would say the business people, industries should be at the core of these efforts, yeah, to connect the two countries. Commitments and trade practices. What are the potential to export commodities, to trade efficiency and export performance, like the one that also mentioned by Bu Lianna, yeah, on how to make simple procedural aspects of our export and import, and also procedurals to invest. I think that's the one that need to be clarified and need to be mapped out to be researched further. But also in terms of competitiveness of our commodities, we both have complementary commodities, which when we talk about supply chains, it will be the benefits of our sites. So, for example, when we talk about extractive industries on mining, I think Argentinian experience could be learned a lot to Indonesian's mining industries. I think when we talk about the value chains of Argentinian mining industry have been higher than the value chains of Indonesian mining industry, and we could collaborate on that based on strategic objectives of both countries, Indonesia and Argentina. Also in other areas of, for example, dairy products, again, we could collaborate on that. Even on tourism, yeah, I think we could also collaborate on how then we could be complemented in terms of the dynamics and market positioning of the so-called competitors, yeah, in the two countries. But this is basically need to be researched carefully, and then we need to build collaborations, policy collaboration that is based on evidence, scientific evidence, and I think that would be needed by our policymakers in the two sides of the regions. So also I will just skip on this because I'm proposing that apart from our homeworks in our respective site in Indonesia, in Argentina, in the countries of Southeast Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean, we have at least 3 common issues to be researched further on TTI promotion, on the liberalization schemes, and on the modalities. And here is the things. In trade, tourism, and investment promotion, for example, I think we have common grounds. We have a common perception on that. We need to connect the two regions more closely. And we need, for example, a services sector like tourism promotion that include creative industry, economy, culinary, and so forth, yeah, handicrafts, and so forth, circular economy, and cultural inclusions for Latin America and the Caribbean to our culture in Indonesia. On the highlights, I think Indonesian people perceive positively about Latin American and the Caribbean cultures. We have sort of like role modeling many dimensions of your cultural life in Latin America, but also not only culture but also socio and political. I think that's a big opportunity to understand each other, and I think we have been part of that since 2008. I mean, we at Universitas Gadjah Mada, we have the Sociedad Indonesia para America Latina, where we have annual gatherings of Indonesians who is interested on anything about Latin America in Jogja. And again, Pak Sebastián has been part of these ideas, and we are trying to also connect with more people to be part of our SIPAL, Sociedad Indonesia para America Latina. And I will specifically invite Bu Lianna and Bu Yudhita to be part of the society later on, yeah, in the future. So this TTI promotion is heavily connected with collaborations, engagement on our socio-cultural life, but also political life. So we need to be connected on that. On the second issue, liberalization scheme, we, as I mentioned earlier, we have been initiated a couple of FTAs, SEPA, between the two regions, the Pacific Alliance, the Indonesia-Chile SEPA. But I think the government of Indonesia also is thinking about widening to Mercosur, where I think Argentina belongs to, and Brazil also, the two big economies in Latin America. But I think the real challenges is how then to make, again, common perceptions on liberalizations. I know that some of the leaders in Latin America is quite careful when it comes to trade liberalization, like the one that probably represented by the current president of Brazil, but also probably the next presidents of, I don't know, Argentina. But the past president have been also quite careful when it comes to liberalizations. I don't know the end results of the current elections in Argentina. Hope to have balanced leaders, balanced political leaders, that then that we can then come up with taking opportunity to connect with a country like Indonesia in Southeast Asia. And the last one would be on modalities for mutual TTI promotion, creative industry, and digital economy as part of our projections of connecting the two regions. I would say the strategies would be three parts: commodity diplomacy, which integrate to TTI promotion, aiming at both internal domestic structural bureaucratic reform and deepen integration to regional value chains and global value chains by utilizing existing regional international commodity production service network, in particular strategic areas, sectors that need to be agreed among the parties. And second one, developing sub-economic diplomacy measures, especially when it comes to economic diplomacy, then trade diplomacy and commercial diplomacy in particular, by designing export destination clusters that are sensitively linked to RVCs and GVCs. We have been working on that. We have indicated some sectors, strategic sectors. We need yet to, again, research carefully and mapping out carefully to come up with policy recommendations. And the last one, establishment of RVC GVC task force, or I would say hub that connect the two regions, or in particular Indonesia and Argentina, so that the liberalization scheme that we are encountering now could be then benefiting us. It's a spaghetti ball phenomenon. It's not clear who take the take benefits, the profits on that. But we need to make sure that if we base on commodity diplomacy, specific commodity diplomacy, then we need to make sure that everyone is included in terms of the benefits, in terms of the profits that we have from the liberalization scheme. And here's the recap on that. Again, I would say that the context is foreign policy adopted ED, commodity and industrial sectoral-based economic diplomacy, and with major catalyst geoeconomic relevance of domestic setting. And we need to, again, link together on that. We need to be very genuinely talk about that. What are the major challenges that we have in both sides? And then let's search for common grounds common perceptions. So that the idea. Trade negotiation could be the platform, but again, the mentality is not about who is winning on the trade negotiation, but who will be setting the common grounds, the winning set. If we talk about negotiation process through the mapping of GVC, GPNs, global production network, supply chains, and so forth. Now I'll come up with the last part of my presentations. I'll come up with this research and policy agenda. I would say that the opportunities here on INALAC Business Forum, only that we need to expand the functions of this business forum to also academic forum. So we need to have the arms of academic forum side by side with the business forum. So this has been our proposal since last year to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I think they have been accepted. But then we need to really come out with real outcomes of this proposal with the coming of 2024 INALAC Business Forum. I think some of the ideas have been also initiated in certain think tanks, not only in Indonesia, but also in Southeast Asia, in Latin America. What we need to talk is how then we put together these ideas, and then I would say that we need this as part of this strategy of having collaborative transnational engagement by adopting the so-called N-helix approach, and would represent the flexible numbers that we could engage in the initiative, and would also represent the needs to approach the so-called Porter's 5 forces of competitiveness. I believe you have been familiar with on this idea, but the idea is to have competitiveness as part of shared knowledge, share competitiveness, share synergy. So that's part of the idea. We need to have research on upgrading and value chains governance, on how to advocate to policymakers, and then finally, when it comes to academia like us, we need to have partnerships on knowledge production, and that's the part that we have been also collaborating in the past at least 10 years with our Latin American colleagues. What we need is how to upscaling that. And this is my last slide. Policy partnerships. Could we then imagine that someday we could have Indonesia INALAC GVC RVC hub? It could be in Argentina, it could be in Indonesia, it could be in any countries in Latin America, in the Caribbean. But 2 arms that I would suggest. The first arm is the left side on the knowledge co-production, on our main function as an academia. We need to be connected with multi or transdisciplinary approach on that. I think we need to go beyond our understanding of trade, of economic operations, international economic cooperation, beyond to the ones that also reflect the interests of key stakeholders, the big companies, but also micro and small medium enterprises, but also smallholders in our plantations sector, but also the communities, indigenous communities that's affected, for example, by our mining sectors. So that's the one that we need to communicate with them. But I would really emphasize that we need to go that by sector, by commodities. We cannot go in general. We cannot go in generic terms. We need to go specifically on certain sectors that then be agreed by relevant stakeholders. On the right side, we need these areas of market, of business. I would say that digital transformation need to be included as part of the strategy. Also, Lianna, also you mentioned about the need to literate ourselves in this digital transformation, meaning that we need to pool our talents. And we talk about talents pooling, then we need to link it not only in terms of its digitalizations or digitizations, but also with the overall industrial transformation. So what we need to take about our digital sectors when it comes to public services, when it comes to our manufacturing sectors, and so forth. So that's basically the idea. But with these presentations, I'll also attach some of the figures that coming from the Latin American and the Caribbean side, especially on digital economy. And you may want to learn about this later on, but I'll put it as an appendix for now. But if we do need to discuss about this, then we are ready to do so on e-commerce opportunity, on the payment. I think inside ASEAN, we need also talk. We have talked about this digital payment gateway. In the future, I would believe that digital payment revolutions scheme cooperation between Latin America and Southeast Asia is possible, and it could be the catalyst of our digital economy cooperations. So this one is the last one, hybridizations of marketplaces. I think Lianna also talked about this, and I think we have to connect our startups. Yeah, some of them are very creative, very productive, and some of them have been classified as unicorns, decacorns. We need to connect them in our platform of Inalak Business Forum. So with that, I end my presentation, Pak Sebastián. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, and I look forward to having your feedbacks on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Riza. And thank you so much because you bring too many times the words Latin America from Indonesia perspective. Yeah? And from a researcher like you, with experience, not only the academician in the university, but also working the programs under the umbrella of the World Trade Organization, and you have the contact, the feedback with people from different latitudes, including Latin America. You mentioned Brazil, for example. And I think that more than before, we need this kind of activities like today in order to help the policy decision maker, no? Something that all the speakers today mentioned in some way or the other, that not only from the academia is necessary to be more connected, but we really need to work from the public sector, no? From the governments. And a good example that you mentioned, Mr. Riza, is the INALAC, the Indonesia, Latin America, and the Caribbean Business Forum, that is held every year, sorry. In the next month is going to be again. Hopefully I can be there to raise my hand and maybe ask some questions to the speakers. I will not be speaker there, but I have the opportunity to ask some questions, because it's a good venue to bring together in the same place, in the same time, the public sector and the private sector from the both regions. That's why it's very interesting for us. So I think that I try to connect all the presentations of today in only one sentence or two maybe. That the topic of the digitalization, the topic of the green global supply chain, the topic of the economic diplomacy, how to be together. I mean, the geographic distance is not really a distance for me. I think that more than before, and again, mention the digitalization, we can be really together, connected like right now, no? From Argentina, Indonesia, with other places in Latin America, from Vietnam. Later we have speakers from Vietnam also. So I think that we can continue the discussion, Mr. Riza, Lianna, Yudhita, and the other speakers later, and bringing maybe the appendix, Mr. Riza, that you mentioned recently. I think this is a very good invitation, Gustavo, to continue later with more specific activities. We are already in September, I don't know this year, but I think for sure in the next year, to continue working together, Latin America with Southeast Asia and Indonesia. And I think also, Gustavo, we had Edgar from Colombia that maybe can be very interested with the topics, example, tourism, because actually I am also connected with him about tourism, Colombia, Indonesia. So I think we can continue the discussion for long time. I don't know if there is any question, Gustavo, from the chat.
No, I don't have any question here. The students don't have anyone too. According as you said, and the speaker, probably we can go on international cooperation next year. So today and tomorrow we're going to sing some agreements and international agreements about investment. So we can do it with the ease with Indonesia. We really like to advance, to go on in that area. So perhaps, Mr. Riza, we can make an agreement for international cooperation in academic and research.
Yes, we really look forward to having that, Mr. Alves.
Okay, I think that's all, Gustavo. If there is nothing else.
No, I want to thank to all our colleagues from foreign universities for this time dedicated for this participation, as well as you, Sebastián, for moderating this panel. We will now conclude this broadcast and we will see you in a few moments to start round 2. Bueno, agradezco a los colegas de las universidades del exterior que nos están acompañando por el tiempo que le dedicaron a esta participación y así también aquí a Sebastián que moderó la mesa. Vamos a cerrar entonces esta transmisión y nos encontramos ahora en unos instantes para iniciar la mesa 2.